I was an early beta tester for OpenAI way before ChatGPT even launched. I just went back and looked at an email that the company sent me just 2 days before ChatGPT rolled out. There's some really fascinating things in here. So this is the email. You can see I got it from OpenAI on November 28th, 2022. ChatGPT came out 2 days later on the 30th, and this is a message they sent to some of their early API users and beta testers. And what you can see in here is that there's no mention of ChatGPT at all. Basically, they're bragging about what was called their Da Vinci model at the time, how it produces higher quality writing, it can handle complex instructions, and they've got these now really hilarious examples of how amazing this was. It really was amazing at the time. So this was the Da Vinci 2 model, what it would do in response to this question about backend frameworks. And here, the fact that it could recommend like Node.js and Django and that kind of stuff was so revolutionary. It could write a couple paragraphs that were sort of accurate. And again, I mean, now this feels like it's really old hat, but at the time, a computer that could do this was pretty remarkable. Now, interestingly, even though it doesn't say anything specifically about this world-changing thing they were about to launch, it does have a link to this Instruct GPT article. And this is kind of similar to ChatGPT. It does build on some of the stuff that ultimately ended up being part of ChatGPT. And they're basically saying we're going to start implementing this as part of the Da Vinci model, Instruct GPT, which is basically aligning their base LLM to instruction following and answering questions, which obviously was the basis for ChatGPT's success. So there's a little reference in here, saying, okay, we're starting to take this research we've been pursuing for several years. Now it's being applied to our product. This started again in early 2022 is one of the things I was testing. And then they're saying in the email, hey, we're basically at the point where we're going to build this into the model. You're actually accessing Da Vinci 3, the version of GPT-3. And then 2 days later, they thought, hey, we'll just put this in some simple web interface where a couple of nerds can go and try it out. Maybe we'll get some usage data and be able to better tweak this thing. And then, of course, the world exploded and everything is AI 3 years later. So I think it's very interesting for a couple of reasons. One is that it's very, very obvious from this email that they had no idea what was coming. I mean, they're super excited in here about their new, much more intelligent model, but the idea that they are about to launch this chatbot doesn't even factor in. So obviously they didn't think it was even going to be a big deal. They were very excited about the underlying technology and what they were building towards and how useful it could be and better at long-form content generation, et cetera, et cetera. They were excited about the research that they had done earlier in the year that they were now building into the model with Instruct GPT. The idea that those would mesh together with this web interface and become a consumer-facing product that a couple years later would have 800 million weekly users, as ChatGPT does, it's just not in there at all. But again, you can start to see the breadcrumbs that lead there. The research they were doing, the excitement over these longer, more sort of conversational or answer-based responses, which the model really didn't do. It was basically text completion up to that point. So this new kind of framework of you ask it a question and it responds was a different kind of thing than was in there before. Again, the core research, if you read that original article, and just their excitement about building this kind of more useful intelligence. Take all those things, throw in the very surprising element of this being this runaway success for the general public, and you start to see how ChatGPT came to be and the very sort of rumblings underneath the surface that led to it all the way back in this 2022 email. If you found this useful or interesting, please do like and subscribe. It really helps me out.